So today we've not got just one, but we've actually got two controllers being featured on the channel today. Flydigi reached out to me and sent me out a couple of controllers. Now, I did do an initial review of one of them already. That review is live on the other channel, but I did have somebody comment and we've got good review, but sad that you bought a used controller to review the Vader 4 to save money, not a fair review. So yes, my Vader 4 Pro was a used controller when I bought it, and I did do that to save money. But the reason behind that is, number one, I didn't think it was such a bad idea simply because if I got a used controller, that would tell me how well it holds up over a little bit of time. I mean, the controller was in pretty good condition and still is. But the simple fact is it costs me more money to make these videos than YouTube pays me. And these controllers are not the cheapest things in the world. So if you want to help me out with that, hit subscribe down below, give the video a like, and leave me a little comment. Let me know what you think. But Flydigi reached out and decided to send me two controllers. They actually sent me another Vader 4 Pro, and this one is brand new and sealed. So you can quit crying about it now. Brand new and sealed. So we're going to do a bit more in-depth with that one because it is still a really good controller. It does land in my top 5 PC controllers, and there's still a lot more to explore with that one, but we're not talking about that one today, so we're going to slide that over to one side. But Flydigi did also send me their Apex 4 controller, so just want to say a huge thanks to Flydigi for finally sending me these out, as we did talk about it a little while back, but then they didn't respond to me for a little while, and I'm not too sure why. Maybe my emails just got a little bit lost. But they finally did get back to me and got this controller sent over, the Apex 4, which is the Vader 4 Pro's bigger brother. So we're going to take a look at this and see what it offers. Now on paper, when you take a look at the specs of both of these controllers, it's kind of hard to work out which one's the better one. Like which is the big brother, which is the little brother. If we're just going off the size of the box, it looks like the Apex 4. And that is definitely the case. I have already cracked this one open and I've been trying to play around with it as much as possible, simply because I very quickly realized this controller has so many features that are totally new to me. This is probably going to take a while to get through, so I do apologize if this video ends up being quite long. I will try to keep it short and snappy if I can, but yeah, let's take a look. So the unboxing is actually really nice. We've got this sleeve that slides off there, and then a really nice box with the logos and Rule the Game on there. Opening it up, we get this card. It is Chinese on this side, but if we flip it over, we have got an English version as well. Nice piece of foam on the top, which is not something you usually see. So they've definitely wanted to make the statement that this is their controller. Nice braided USB cable. It's like black and blue woven. USB-C with the Flydigi logos. Really nice cable. Looks like a nice length as well. And here's the controller. And we've also got the wireless 2.4 gigahertz dongle as well. Really nice unboxing experience. Definitely a box I do want to go and put on the shelf with the rest of them. As I've said, I have already been playing around with this controller, but just check this out. Turn this thing on is an on-off switch on the back of this thing right here. So we'll just flick that switch and we'll just get the dongle connected and check that out. How insane is that? I have my own logo on my controller. So you can create your own GIFs and install them on the controller, and they'll just play like that when your controller is on and connected. It's such a small thing and it's not going to matter in terms of performance, but I am, just from this feature alone, I am already in love with this controller. Mechanical switches all around, A, B, X, Y, mechanical D-pad. I love these D-pads from Flydigi as well. It's the same one that's on the Vader 4 Pro. Feels awesome. Now, one of the big difference between this and the Vader 4 Pro is that this doesn't have the same instant triggers that the Vader 4 Pro had. And I was a little bit confused because if this is supposed to be the better controller, why do we only have analog triggers? Well, that's because this controller doesn't need them. I'm going to tell you more about that in a minute. But yeah, I believe we have Hall effect sticks on this thing, just the same as the Vader 4 Pro, but these do look a little bit different. You don't have that tension wheel. You can adjust the tension on this one as well though. What you can do is you can pull off the analog sticks, you can then pull off the D-pad, and then the faceplate is magnetic. It's a very nice fit. It's a very tight fit. Everything fits together really, really nice. But yeah, you pull that off, and then you've got these little dials. Wait, this doesn't look to be right. Hold up. Let me just read these Chinese instructions to try and find out what's going on. Oh, wait. Wait, that doesn't look right. Oh, wait, it's right there. Oh, so it's hidden in the side of the controller. What? Yo, check that out. Okay, so we pull that out, and then now we can twist, do the funky twist. And I like my analog sticks to be on the light side. So I'm going to just loosen these as much as it will go. And I'm hoping it stops before the controller just completely falls apart. That looks like it's going to come all the way out. Let me feel this. Whoa, that's really light. How far will this thing actually come out? Whoa, these things are actually, they didn't feel too bad before, but these things are actually on quite a high tension straight out of the box. Yo, that is, whoa, that is so light. That's going to take like 0 effort. This is crazy. I didn't even feel like they were actually on a high tension before, but now I've loosened them all the way. Let me put that back in there because I will lose it. So put the faceplate back on, stick these things back on. Oh my God, I can't even get it back on because it's so light. All right, back together. Oh my God, look at that thing. That is so light. That's incredible. This video is going to be like an hour long, so I'm just going to move on swiftly. So 1000 hertz polling rate, wired and wireless. Why can I not seem to get that? All right, there we go. 1000 hertz polling rate, wired and wireless. So I'll just go ahead and test that out now, actually. Okay, so we got a minimum of 0.56 milliseconds, so half a millisecond. Maximum was literally 1 millisecond, just over. Average was less than a millisecond. Jitter is actually very low as well, 0.016, or basically 17. And a polling rate of over 1000 hertz. That's great. That's exactly what we want to see. Now, I like my analog sticks very light, but I think that might actually be a little bit too light. 4 remappable buttons on the back. We don't have the extra 2 buttons here on the face like we normally do on the Vader 4 Pro, but obviously we've got some extra features here that might not have allowed that. And we've got an LCD screen as well, and you can customize the controller, manage and configure everything on here as well. These bumpers actually feel really good. We've also got this rubber silicone texture grip around the handles here. Now, when I was playing with this controller, yes, these rubber grips did provide extra grip, like all night long. However, after a couple of hours, it actually ended up being a bit too much. So it actually became too grippy to the point where my hands felt sticky, like they were stuck to the controller. So I don't know how I feel about that, actually. It's definitely doing its job, but I think it's doing its job a little bit too much, which I never actually thought I would ever say about a controller. This thing is heavy as well. This thing is like Elite Series 2 heavy. It's definitely got some hefty weight to it, but there's a very good reason for it. So obviously it's got some pretty big rumble motors in here for that immersive feedback. However, there are some other motors inside this controller, and that is because they are in the triggers. But I'll show you that in the software. 4 remappable buttons on the back. These things feel really clicky. I love these things. They're in the perfect spot as well. Normally, I would only use 2 rear buttons on the back. That's all I need. But it is nice to have 4, and I'm pretty sure I can make use of these things. This thing can be used on PC, Nintendo Switch. It can also be used on iOS and Android as well. So Switch, PC, iOS, Android. But obviously, this thing won't connect to any Xbox consoles, PlayStation 5 consoles. But it does have a D input mode and an X input mode. For these adaptive triggers, they work the same as the ones on the DualSense Edge. And that's another reason why it's got the D input mode, so that it can have native support for the adaptive triggers in games as well. But these adaptive triggers have some extra features. We'll jump in the software and take a look at those. All right, so jumping into the software here, let's take a look. There are so many things to do in here. I still haven't quite figured everything out. But these are the basics. So we've got home, and that can kind of take us where we want to go, but we can select up here. So we can remap every button, and we can even remap buttons to be either a button from the controller. We can activate some rapid fire, and we can modify that. We can add a macro in here as well, but just be careful with these because they are banned in most games. And then we've got some extra features here as well. So you can actually have it as some mouse actions as well. So lots to do. I haven't quite figured out how to add a keyboard value here. Oh wait, so you just press the keyboard. So yeah, you can literally just click this button right here and set it to a keyboard value. Now the reason you might want to do this, especially in a game like Call of Duty, is when you're using the reload button, you've usually got it as two options. So you've got it as interact and reload. So by setting my M4 button here as R on the keyboard, that means I can just tap it very quickly and I can reload my weapon very quickly. But then I can use the original X button right here as tap to interact. So I've got tap to interact and tap to reload, just as an example. So joysticks, this is where things get interesting as well. And I have not really played around with this yet, but for some reason you can map the joystick to another function. Like you can have your right joystick as your mouse, or you can even have it as a keyboard as well. Like this thing's crazy. You can actually make your analog stick act like a keyboard. I mean, I don't know the benefits of this. I really don't know how this would give you any advantages or anything, but it's pretty interesting to see that this is what you can do. And then we've got the gyro as well, and you can either have this as one of the joysticks or as your mouse. And then you've got a racing gyro as well. I'm not too sure on the difference between racing and FPS because I'm not really a gyro player, but I'm sure we'll try and get the time to test that out and see what it's all about. Now for the triggers, this is where things get really interesting. So general mode is just where you've got the normal analog stick. Racing mode, what it does is it basically adds dampening. So it makes the trigger stiffer the more that you press it down. So you can increase the strength and lower the strength. And then you can tell it when to start dampening to just kind of get better control. We've also got a recoil mode. And what this does is when you start to press the trigger, it will actually bounce the trigger as though it's recoil of a gun, which is absolutely wild. I'll go ahead and show you that. Sniper mode, what this does is it gives you the sensation that you're actually pressing a trigger. So it's kind of a little bit stiff to press, but then it kind of like snaps as you press it. And it gives you kind of an immersive feeling as though you're actually pressing a real trigger. Then you've got a trigger lock, and you can literally choose wherever you want the trigger to stop. So if you want it to be right at the end, so if you want full access to the trigger, then you'll say it's 200. Bring it all the way down to 20 though, and the trigger will be very, very short. And then you've got like a vibration as well. Maybe it gives you some information from the game. One that I probably will use is the trigger lock here, and I'll have it set like that. That makes the trigger incredibly short. One of the shortest triggers that I've ever tested. And the fact that you've got so much range and you can really fine tune these is insane, really. And you know, you just move this slider and the controller in your hand changes. It's absolutely wild. Then when we go to general mode, we've got a couple of things. So we've got controller vibration, and then we've also got the lighting, which is pretty interesting. And I've got this set up for my custom colors here. So the controller looks really good, especially when the animation's playing. Wow, this video is going to be hella long. Sorry. We've got so much to go through. So we've got some adaptive games here. So this is what is supported. These are going to be PlayStation games that have the adaptive trigger immersive feel kind of built in. And then you can turn it on and off. And as you can see, it says DualSense mode here because it has to recognize the controller as a DualSense controller for it to work in game. But these are all the games that are supported. I'm not going to be using that, but still, it's a really cool feature. Screen settings, this is where you can choose from a preset GIF to play on the LCD screen, or you can go to setting here and you can upload your own, which I have done. One of my favorite features of this controller. We can test all the inputs here, make sure everything's looking good. Wow, these analog sticks are so light and so responsive as well. You can test everything, make sure everything is working. And then we've got switch mode config. So this is for when you're using the controller on your Nintendo Switch, and you can have basically an entire separate profile. So you can manage what the buttons do, the joysticks, basically all the same stuff really, but it's just a separate config for using it on Nintendo Switch. But we'll go back to the PC config because that's what we're going to be using it on. In function settings, we have a sleep timer and some other onboard configurations. I mean, I'm still yet to explore most of this. This is going to take a while. This controller has so much to offer. Up here, this is where you can update everything. I've already updated everything. But yeah, so much to do and so much customization. It's honestly impressive. But now we'll get to how well it performs in game. So we are supposed to be able to configure the controller on this little screen as well. So you press and hold the home, but the problem is by default, the controller is in Chinese. I'm assuming anyway, and I can't read Chinese. Now, apparently I go to settings and then apparently that's the language there. The second option down. Ah, there we go. English, bingo. So now we're going here. There we go. Connect. So we can change all this cool stuff and then button mapping, trigger mode, button edit, configurations. So that's profiles, settings, brightness, vibration, and then just some about information. So just before I put the controller back together here, I'm just getting this all set up and the tension of the sticks adjusted and everything ready for in-game. Ended up just pulling out a flathead screwdriver instead because it was much easier to adjust the tension. But one thing I found as well is you can buy separately these Vader 4 Pro joysticks, joystick caps. So you can have different heights. So that's default. And then you've got a taller stick here, but then you've also got an in-between as well. And these actually do fit right on. So I can put a longer stick on here just like that. And you can buy these from pretty much anywhere. You can get them from eBay, AliExpress. So that's really cool that they've made those interchangeable. And also what they've done is this is the Vader 4 Pro that I've got here. And also the D-pads are interchangeable as well. So these controllers have a very similar feel and shape. And you can put the Vader 4 Pro D-pad on here as well if you want to mix things up, which is also really, really cool. But yeah, I'm just going to get these joystick tensions adjusted to a place where I like them. I do like them on the lighter side, as I said. I'm going to need to unwind these quite a bit. Probably just to the point where it snaps back in place. I think that's pretty comfortable. I'm pretty much just going to do like maybe a full turn and then test it out. So maybe another half a turn there. That feels just about right to me. I am honestly impressed by this controller and the way that it performs, all the features it offers. I can't actually believe this controller flew under my radar for so long. And the reason it did was because it does offer Hall effect sticks and not TMR. When I was looking at PC controllers, once I did discover and learn about TMR sticks and what they're all about, the hunt for Hall effect sticks stopped. I stopped searching for controllers and I stopped bothering with controllers with Hall effect sticks mostly. And the reason for that is that I thought it was always just going to be second best. And on this channel, that's not what we're here for. We're here to find out what is the best, what you should be spending your money on. And this controller definitely is one of them. I'm not too sure where I rank it at the moment. I've not quite spent enough time with it. But these Hall effect sticks, I am thoroughly impressed with. They felt snappy, responsive, precise. I have been playing some Black Ops 6 competitively in ranked play with this controller, and I do feel fairly confident with it. The extra buttons on the back definitely did come in very useful and does provide a competitive edge as well. Now the triggers, I did end up just using those in general mode, so that is just normal analog triggers. I didn't bother with using any of the trigger locks or anything like that, but not because they didn't do a job very well. It's just a personal preference thing. I mean, even on some controllers that have instant triggers, I will still opt to disable those and just use a normal analog trigger, just because I've been playing Call of Duty on controllers now for over a decade, and it's just what I'm used to. But that's not to say the features that are included with the triggers on this thing are really, really impressive, and it's really good to see companies diving into new technologies like this and new innovations. The controller is on the heavy side. I would like it to be a little bit lighter, but I do, at the same time, I understand that it's heavy because of what's inside it. Not a case of like the Elite Series 2 that is heavy because they made it heavy. The Elite Series 2 has nothing special in it, no gyroscopes, no crazy trigger motors or anything like that. There's no excuse for it. This controller is a little bit heavy, but it's totally justified because of all the features you do get in this thing. But if this thing turns out to be a little bit too heavy for yourself, the Vader 4 Pro is a lighter option, a much lighter controller because it doesn't have all of those extra motors in for the triggers and a few other things as well. And both these controllers, in terms of design and comfort ergonomics, they fall in line with original Xbox controllers, so they're definitely comfortable. And if you want something just as comfortable as this controller, the Vader 4 Pro, is pretty much the same shape, design, layout, and everything. I am going to do an updated review on the Vader 4 Pro very, very shortly, as soon as I get the chance. So keep an eye out for that coming up, and I'll talk much more about that, and I'll do a comparison of the two as well to help you decide which one to get. The input latency on this controller, wired and wireless, was as good as you need it to be. No, it's not the fastest thing, and there's other controllers that do perform a little bit better in terms of input latency, but there was no issues with this one. The back buttons were nice and responsive as well. Every button on this controller responded very, very well. The D-pad, the bumpers, the face buttons, everything. I'm just going to say it. There's really nothing I can complain about with this controller. It's got tons of features. The Hall effect sticks are of good quality. And although I thought it was a bit of an expensive controller to start off with, after discovering and learning what it has to offer, and just the overall attention to detail, the build quality, the way that it feels like a very premium product. Probably the most premium feeling controller I've ever tested. Obviously, I've not been using this controller for very long, so in terms of durability and reliability, how long it's going to last, are there any kind of common problems with it? Those are yet to be discovered by myself. Some other people may have kind of run into issues with this controller already, but I can't really speak on my personal experience. But we will be using this controller in our live streams over on my other channel. I'll link that in the description below. And I love to talk about controllers all day long. So you can ask me questions and come along on the journey to see how well all the controllers on the channel hold up and my experiences with them. Again, huge thanks to Flydigi for sending these controllers out to me, and I wouldn't have this opportunity without you guys. So thanks again for your support. That's it from me today. We'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.